All right. So today I have Courtney Luna. I never asked you, Courtney. Luna's your last name, right?
Yes,
I was
my married last
middle
name.
name. That is a beautiful middle name. That was no, Courtney Luna. Thank you so much for being here and coming on the channel for an interview. I have recently just discovered you on social media. And I find your journey really inspiring. And so I just wanted to reach out to you and to just meet someone new in the carnivore community that can really help encourage just the everyday person, like the busy mom. Because I just really think if we can just get the message out there that being a busy mother, or just, you don't have to be a mother, but I'm just saying, just being a busy person, you can still be tremendously healthy and it doesn't have to be complicated and hard. And so thank you so much for coming on the channel.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat. And yes, no excuses. Like we're all busy, whether you have kids or not. It takes just as long to cook up some ground beef as it does a box of mac and cheese. So yeah, that's part of my thing. I want to share how this is so easy to do and like so other people can relate to it and not feel so overwhelming.
I love that. So for people who don't know you, can you just let us know about your family and what started you on this carnivore lifestyle?
Yeah, so I am just had a birthday, 38? No. Oh my God. I don't, how old am I? 39. Oh my God. Okay.
It's okay. I do the same thing. I'm like, I don't know. Once I
just
30,
had to think about my birth year. Yeah, 84.
Well, happy birthday.
Okay. I just turned 39. Okay, so I have 39-year-old mom of two little kids, 5 and will be 3 next week. And we are in Southern California. And it took me a long time to get to this place that I am right now. 25 years of disordered eating, yo-yo dieting, you name it. How I found carnivore was my husband was sending me TikToks and they were Paul Saladino's Carnivore MD. And he never said anything for like a month. And then I'm like, okay, you keep sending me these. Like, should we not be eating vegetables? Like, this is insane. He's like, I don't know. I got to do more research. So that was my introduction to this world because I was keto for like 7 years on and off, never once heard of carnivore. Like, I don't know why I was so out of the loop. I followed blogs, I followed people on social media, like carnivore was never mentioned. So that was my introduction to this. I started eating out that way, started having, some fruit, being mindful of the carbs and the sugar just because I was coming from a low carb place, but still having some fruit, still having some like maple syrup on my burgers. I do miss that. I quickly realized,
salty sweet
it's working for me. Yeah. So I would like be satisfied from all the meat I had, but I would still like my mouth was still wanting that sweetness. So I realized it was kind of just a vicious cycle. And while I was doing okay, not wanting processed, carbs and sugar, I was still wanting more fruit than I needed. So quickly gave that up after 5 weeks. And I've been strict carnivore ever since. I haven't even had a bite of like my kids' fruit. Like when I cut it up for them, sometimes it looks good. But I'm just aware that one bite for me, like I'm one bite away from spiraling back on a sugar binge. So
yeah,
that's where we are right now.
So how long have you been carnivore? Like you've been keto obviously for years. Were you kind of like dirty keto or were you like pretty like, no, like real food, one ingredient foods, like no processed stuff?
Well, I was dirty. I was dirty. I never came from a place of like doing all this for health and nutrition. It was always for weight loss. And I just didn't care what the ingredients I was eating as long as like my net carbs were low. So, low carb tortillas, I do miss those, like the texture of them. Like Lord knows the ingredients that are in there. Like, so yeah, the keto treats had a hold on me. So I've been carnivore for 14 months, or it was a year in May. So wherever we are now.
Awesome.
But right before I did carnivore, I got caught up in the anti-diet culture crap that they're putting out there, which is all foods are good. There's no bad foods. Anything's on the table. To heal your relationship with food, you need to have a relationship with food. So you can eat everything. And I quickly gained 40 pounds in 4 months because I was a carb and sugar addict. Yeah. So it's kind of like I know now that I'm an abstainer and not a moderator. I can't just have a little bit and go about my day. It will consume my thoughts. So I abstain, kind of like how people that are alcoholics don't drink. I think it's the same with food and sugar. So that's where I was before this.
Yeah, I think that's a huge misconception that I've recently learned about. My husband and I will be carnivore, strict carnivore what is strict carnivore? Can we I'm like, we still eat dairy, like there's strict carnivore. I think of like Dr. Anthony Chafee, where he's just like meat and water. And then there's people who include dairy and then, things like that. And then some people put spices on their food and some people don't put spices on their food. But I guess when I say strict carnivore, it just meat, some cheese, dairy, water.
Yeah. I mean, like when I say it, like I don't cheat and I don't have off-plan things, but yes, dairy, I don't typically use spices, but I will eat like chopsticks that have them in there. So that's my interpretation.
Those are delicious. And sticks are really good too. But yeah, like the thing that I've learned, my husband and I, like I was saying, I get very distracted. I'm like squirrel. And then I like jump on that. So, we'll be carnivore for a year in August, which is, just next month. So, and my husband's lost 60 pounds. Like it's wild. I just did it to be in solidarity with him and I feel awesome. I was like, how can I make this, easier for you? Like he had crazy blood pressure issues that should have put him in the hospital, but he was looking for natural ways to remedy that. And, it's kind of sad that now we go to YouTube to solve our problems and not like to a physician. But it is what it is, with the way things are. And so it led him to the carnivore diet. And I was like, you know what? Why not? I'll just like go along with it for just a little bit. So it's like easier for you. And I was like, wow, I feel great. This is awesome. And then you get down the rabbit trail of all the information that you thought was right. And then it's wrong. But abstaining is a huge thing. And the binge eating, I come from disordered eating as well. And, I prefer to be an abstainer than like someone who can dip in because it's a slippery slope. I can say that I can indulge in an ice cream with my kids, like every once in like we went on vacation in Florida back in February for 10 days. I ate ice cream 4 times in the 10 days. And it wasn't like consuming my thoughts, but whenever we walked, so since then, and being on this journey for a year, it's amazing what you learn about yourself. So after eating the ice cream for 4 days over 10 days, 4 times over 10 days, in the months following that, when I would walk into a grocery store and you smell like the bakery aisle, the cravings like hit you like a punch in the face. It's nuts. And so then I was like, we can't do this, right? Because then all you're thinking about is the sugar and all the things. Now I can go into a grocery store, months later, and we can walk through the bakery aisle. And I think it smells gross. I was like, oh, it's so sweet. It's just like so sickening sweet. And the kids think it's the best smell in the world, but I was like, it's just too sweet to me. But yeah, to abstain and just not do it, like you said, like an alcoholic, a little bit is just going to send you spiraling down the hole. I agree with that. And I never thought about that. You're always preached since I was a little kid, moderation, everything should be in moderation. But I don't think that is true for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. There's some people that can. My husband, he's carnivore, but he'll have things once in a while that aren't carnivore, but he can quickly just get back on track. It doesn't affect him the way it would me. He doesn't give it another thought. He's just back on track. So yeah, some people can do that, but I think a lot of us that are in this carnivore space have come from an overweight place. And if you're overweight, you probably have a carb and sugar addiction. How else did you get there? So yeah, that's been a huge realization for me. And I wish I realized that sooner. And I feel like it's dismissed a lot. That no, you can't be addicted to carbs and sugar. And it's like, well, of course you can. It's like they've done brain scans when you eat sugar. It's literally like flicking on the dopamine in your brain and all
Absolutely.
that. So yeah, it's definitely a struggle a lot of people have.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So I learned you are a former yacht chef. That is not a career that you hear of like ever. And I think it's really, really cool. Or people who've worked on cruise ships. I've actually known one person to work on a cruise ship. He was a professional dancer and like did all the shows. And that was really cool. So I wanted to ask, as a former yacht chef, do you ever find eating so simply on the carnivore lifestyle to be boring?
I don't think it's boring at all. It's definitely weird. It's a big change going from, using a million ingredients to cook things to now having it be so simple, but it's nice. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It feels for me like mentally freeing, kind of like when you have a really messy house, like my brain and my body feels cluttered and it's distracting. But once you have a nice clean house, it's kind of like, and the same thing with food. Like it's just so simple. And simple doesn't mean like it doesn't taste good. I feel like our taste buds have changed eating this way too. Like a lot of people are like, where's the seasoning? It's like, well, I don't feel like I need that anymore. Like if you have some good, delicious meat, all you need is a little bit of salt to bring out that flavor. So I love how simple it is. I think it's really like to me, it's just weird because I've cooked for so long using all the things. And now I'm actually in the process of doing a cookbook. And I never would have thought if you would have told me years ago that my cookbook would be only meats and animal products. Like it's just weird. Like I was cooking something the other day and it's like, God, I used to like throw in onions and garlic and chop up some like carrots and some ginger and add some broth and make a yummy, creamy carrot ginger soup. And it's like, dang, my days are so different now. So it's kind of a mind trip for me, but I love it.
No, that is great. My husband and I, it was last week and we talked about it before, but he owns a landscaping company and he saw someone like a vendor or something that he hadn't seen in about a year. Remember, he's lost 60 pounds now, like since then. And, the guy didn't even recognize him. He was like, whoa. He thought he was sick and like he had cancer or something. He looks amazing, but because it was such a dramatic weight loss, he was like, are you okay, man? This, that, and the other. And of course, then it comes up, this is how I'm eating now. Right. And all the good things about it, because he has nothing negative to say about it. And so the guy's like, that's all you eat is meat. And he's like, well, we have some cheese and, whatever. But he's like, what's amazing? He's like, I come home and I know every single day I'm going to have steak or I'm going to have some eggs or I'm going to have some ground beef or I'm going to have whatever, right? Like some flank short ribs or whatever. He's like, and before we went carnivore, I would make all these meals, right? Casseroles, things with side. He was like, where's the sides, Kim? Where's the sides? And I was like, I just slaved over this meat, whatever. And now you want these sides? I don't know. Anyway, he's like, now I don't even care. He's like, the idea of sides is just like extra time waste. Like I always start dinner at 3:00. We eat at 5. We are like early to bed, early to rise people. We go to bed in the summer when the sun is still out and we wake up when the sun hasn't come up yet. We function on my husband's schedule, just so our family is always in sync. And so, he was like, I love the fact I have no options now. He's like, I literally have like 5 things and they all taste delicious. And I don't complain and whine about what you're eating or like what you're serving anymore. Now I'd open this pantry full of food and we'd be like, we have nothing to eat. And literally, I don't even store food in my pantry anymore. It's all like kitchen gadgets and things that honestly I hardly ever use anymore, or extra pans and pots and stuff. And I find it liberating. I don't find it boring at all. Now I can start dinner at 4:30. I just save myself an hour and a half of time because I don't have to conceptualize, or I used to plan my dinners out a month in advance and be like, casserole on this day, meat, potatoes, and just like the whole thing. I can just open the fridge and just pull out. I go to Sam's Club. I buy the whole entire ribeye. The guys in the butcher think I'm crazy. They're like, do you want the whole ribeye? I'm like, the whole thing, 20 pounds of it. I want all of it. It's 2 weeks worth of food for my husband and I, like, I don't know. I just love how simple it is. And I initially thought it was going to be really boring, but it's not. It's just, it gives me so much time. It gives me my life back, like that I just don't have to. I don't know. My grandma commented the other day, she goes back and forth whether she likes the idea of the carnivore diet or not, whether she shames me for doing it with my kids or not. Like, old people, I love them to death. They should be cherished in our society, but they have opinions, man. Not all of them are nice. I was like, and she's like, how are your children going to make a good meal for their husband or wife? Are you ever going to teach them to cook? And I was like, they'll know how to make meat. Like, they'll know how to feed themselves. They may not know how to make some like fancy curried whatever. I don't know. I was like, but they'll know how to make some steak and eggs and chicken. I don't know.
Yeah. And I feel like the meat is always the main thing anyways. They're called side dishes for a reason. They're just on the side. So yeah, make the meat amazing and have other different kinds of meats for your side dishes. We like to do a lot of variety that way, because my kids would probably get burnt out on just having burger patties every day, but for dinner, maybe doing like a steak and, some bacon or shrimp or whatever, just to add a little more choices in the mix.
So, do you focus most on beef? Like, do you ever put in like some pork or some chicken or anything like that? I understand like when you're on the carnivore, you want high fat in that meat. We prefer beef as well, but do you ever incorporate, obviously you said some shrimp, some bacon?
Yeah, we do all the animals. Definitely prioritize beef. We're definitely having beef every day, but yes, we do shrimp, seafood. We love chicken wings. My kid loves sardines, my older one.
Really?
So gross. Yeah, I can't really get on board.
The smell alone. Nope, can't do it.
Yeah, it's so similar to tuna, but it's just a little bit stronger. So yeah, we, like Judy Cho says, eat the rainbow of animals. So we do, have variety that way. And that seemed to work best for us.
I love that. Eat the rainbow of meat. Yes, that's great. I want to incorporate some more. Okay, come in here, you guys. Remember we said the house isn't burnt. Are you bleeding? Is the house burning down? What is that? Kiwi. No, you can't have any more fruit. You're done with your sugar for the day. Out you go. Okay. Excellent. We'll get back on track. They're not following my rules. The house isn't burning down and they're coming in. So, all right. So we were talking about our kids and the things they like to eat. What is your approach with your children? You said you had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old?
Yeah, she'll be 3 next week.
Awesome. My little guy that you just saw, he is 5. He's going to be 6 here next month. So I've been soon to be 10, 7, and soon to be 6-year-old. How are you raising? I saw on your Instagram yesterday on your stories. I can't do TikTok. I don't know. I personally can't do it. And yes, people can be really mean and really ignorant and I was like, can we just lift people up, man? Like, can we just be positive? Like, there's so much negative out there. If you have nothing nice to say, what's the golden rule? You don't say anything at all, And I really, I appreciated your approach in like trying to handle that. So what do you do? Like, how are you feeding your kids? How are you educating? Because about education, right? That was my big thing that I took away from your post on Instagram of people criticizing how, you're feeding yourself and your kids. How are you educating your kids about nutrition? It's awesome that they're young. So then you can, grow up with them. And how are they eating these days?
Yeah. So I actually just filmed a video on this, very short. It's uploading as we speak. So all this is like fresh in my mind. So yes, they don't eat a strict carnivore diet. We are very animal heavy with them. Tons of meats we prioritize, dairy, eggs, and they do have some fruit. I am mindful about the amount of fruit they have. They're not keto, like their carbs aren't that low, but I do pay attention because even having too much fruit, their behavior they'll be off the walls because it's carb, it's sugar, like it's sugar even though it's fruit. So they have that. The only things they have at home that are grains are our neighbor makes and sells sourdough bread. So we will have that for them on occasion, but it's literally sliced in the freezer. So they're not even having that every day. And I get these little rice sticks from Costco. Those are the only grains.
Rice stick?
Yeah, there's a little bit of sugar in them to like hold it together. It's like a pantry snack. So it's good. Like, yeah, just some, yeah, I just like to have a few like shelf stable stuff for them when we're out and about. But yeah, they do not eat vegetables anymore. And I didn't even flat out say that on the video I just made. I think it's implied that they don't eat vegetables anymore. And you know what? It's still kind of like a mind F for me. We went to El Pollo Loco the other day and got like a bunch of chicken and stuff, and it came with sides. And I got broccoli just for the heck of it to see. They're like, oh, broccoli, like we used to have this. They had a bite and spit it out. I think there's a reason that babies have such like aversions to vegetables. I think they realize they don't need them. So yeah, okay, back to what they eat. So we prioritize animals and we really try to just educate them because you know it's just this is like such a hot topic for me, and it's frustrating, and I also like doubt myself. I don't want to cause issues. I don't want them to go to a friend's house and binge when they're older because I'm not offering these junk foods to them. So I try to control what we can at home. When we are out, like if we go to In-N-Out, I'll get them Flying Dutchman. It's just meat and cheese. Rarely will I get them a bun, but sometimes if we go to a restaurant, which isn't often, maybe once a month, I'll let them order whatever they want. And it's probably like mac and cheese and all that. And I don't love that, but I don't know. I'm trying to do that balance where I'm not going to cause food issues with them. So that's why we try and educate. They know that, you know, our body needs fat and protein. And when we do have some treats, like let's pay attention to how we feel. Like, how does your stomach hurt? You know, if you're not feeling good, or later when you're crazy, like, hey, see how you're acting right now? Like, this is because you had ice cream earlier. So
I say that to my kids too. I'm so glad you're encouraging my heart, because when I let my kids splurge, right? Like occasionally, you know, it's July, it's super duper hot. And my kid for her birthday got a gift certificate to go get ice cream. We're going to use the gift certificate. It was very generous of the gift, right? But then later in the day, she's a hot mess. She's melting down. She's freaking out. She's sore. She has a bad temper. And it isn't just because your kid can't like regulate their emotions, right? You know your kid best. And I'll just say very calmly, it's the ice cream. It's like you had rainbow billion types of dyes in there. And like, this is a sign. Like, can we pay attention? Like, this is a sign.
Yeah, so I think just having them being aware of how they feel when they do eat these foods. And it's also frustrating that these foods are normalized and that I have to now allow them to have some so I don't cause an issue. Like, why do these even have to be out there for us to consume? Like, it's essentially, I feel like, rat poison. You know, you can have a little bit of rat poison for a long time and that you're not going to have the repercussions for years later. So that's kind of how I think of this. Yes, having an ice cream cone isn't going to immediately give them diabetes and gain 20 pounds, but having it often is not good. So it's a battle. It's frustrating. Like when you go to these kids' birthday parties and it's like, why are you even serving this? Like, come on. It's, you know, and then you have birthday parties every weekend and it's like, I don't want them to eat this stuff, but I also don't want them to be the only kids they're not having in it. And you're like, no, you can't have that. So I don't know. It's a struggle, try to balance it. And it's frustrating. I feel frustrated that I have to even come at it with that approach. Like, it's kind of ridiculous for me that I feel like I need to allow them to have that balance. So yeah, I don't know. This one grinds my gears a bit.
I totally get it as a parent too. What we do at birthday parties now is, cause we're the only ones in our family that live this way. And we have the kids and ourselves, like if we're attending the party, kids, we just do family parties because our kids are so little. We eat before we go. And so, you know, we eat. And then we'll just tell the kids, if there's fruit, you know, right, whole foods. I was like, if there's fruit or cheese or something, and you really feel that you're actually hungry, you can eat that. But we're not eating the chips, we're not eating the candy, we're not eating like anything else. And they're like, okay, like they totally get it now because we've been doing it for a year and we're just constantly talking about better choices. Right. And then, we do let them have, if it's the birthday cake, right, or they're serving ice cream, we don't want them to feel left out. And so we will allow them that. So we just make sure we eat before we go. If we know that there's really not going to be an option there, you know, if there's like hot dogs or burgers or whatever, we'll eat there. And then we don't let our kids have the bun when we're at a restaurant. Like we always tell our kids, it has to be meat. Whatever you order, it has to be meat and it can't be fried. So they usually always have a cheeseburger, which they love. And we let them have the bun when we're at the restaurant, right? And if it comes with fries and we can't really like get another alternative, we're just like, okay, it's a special treat, you know, enjoy it. This is life. But we shouldn't be eating it all the time. And then we're constantly talking to them. How do you feel now? Right. So we hardly ever eat at restaurants, but when we do, like the next day I'll be like, how is the bathroom experience for you? And then my oldest is always like, oh, not good. Or like in the evening, she's like, my tummy, you know, it doesn't feel so great. And I'm like, see, it's because you ate French fries or you ate, my oldest and my youngest, more often than not, will have mild adverse reactions to eating, you know, yucky, common American food. Right. But my middle child, nothing really affects her too much. And so she's like, well, it doesn't affect me. Why does it matter? And I'm like, dude, we just got to talk. She's my sassy one. She's just like, she's got opinions and whatever else. But, yeah, that's hard. And I also don't understand, and which is like a hot topic for me, is like when you go to any child function, it doesn't have to be birthday party. We're talking like if you're going to church and your kid's in like youth group or you're doing sports and like whatever, why does food have to like be in that equation? Like, I don't understand why we have to constantly give kids snacks and feed them when they go places for activities. Like that really bugs me. Like, can they fast for like the 2 hours that they are going to youth group or they're doing a dance class or whatever? Like, why do we have to always be giving kids snacks all the time? And that bugs me about it.
Yeah, it's like we use food as a source of entertainment. And that's not to say we shouldn't be enjoying our food. Like, I am very excited to, you know, eat a ribeye and I enjoy it. But I think, you know, using these other foods is like part of the celebration. It's just interesting. But back to like the kids' parties too, I think portions matter too. Like when like we actually went 2 days ago to go get my kids ice cream. They graduated from their little co-op. Like my kid is now going to officially be in kindergarten. So part of their thing was we're going to go get a toy and some ice cream. And that doesn't mean they're getting a big cup of ice cream. Like you can, you know, what word am I looking for? Handle like whatever size of the portion, get one and split it. Or if you're at a birthday party and you have 2 kids, maybe they can, you know, get an extra plate because they can't have a share on the same plate, but split up that portion. Like you're in control of how much they have. So I think it's nice, you know, so they're not feeling left out, the only kid not having cake at the party, but that doesn't mean they need to have a massive size of the cake to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about that. Say we have birthday parties coming up here in like 2 weeks. I'm like, we don't need a portion of cake like the size of our face. And it's true. Like go out and get ice cream, I just say 1 scoop in a cup. Like we're not getting 2, 3, or like some big sundae that is, in a 12-ounce drinkable cup or whatever. That is a great point. And no, I love that. Thank you. Let's see. I got to stay on track with my questions here because I could fly off the handle. So since we're talking about our kids and family, do you get criticized by extended family? Obviously, everyone's family dynamic is different. I don't know if family lives near you or not. Do you have support in, eating this way and raising your kids this way from extended family? Or do they sabotage you, make it difficult for you, criticize you? I have support from my family, but they also sabotage at the same time. I don't think they mean to at all. Like my grandma will just straight out criticize me, love her to death, but she just doesn't get it. And that's okay. She's like 82 and she doesn't have to get it. Like, but like my mom is like, oh, it's great. I'm glad you're doing this. But then she's like, here, guys, you want fruit snacks? And no, they don't want fruit snacks, but it's because of grandma's heart, they just want to please, And so how does your family handle the way you guys choose to live?
Yeah, we're good. Our immediate family, super supportive. I don't know what my extended family says behind my back, but no one's saying anything to my face. But yeah,
true. I never thought about that.
Yeah. My 2 sets of parents, so my dad and my stepmom, we actually got them into keto like 5 years ago. So they've been keto for 5 years. My mom dabbled in keto too. And right now she's pretty carnivore, ketovore.
Awesome.
So very supportive. My in-laws, they've dabbled in keto, not so much my father-in-law, but they're totally good with what we're doing. I'm sure my vegan family members are not okay with what we're doing, but you know what? I'm not okay with what they're doing. So that's fine. We just don't talk about it.
Agree to don't talk about it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's good. My mom is here like almost every day helping me. So thank goodness she understands and she sees it too. Like, yeah, you guys are like what you just said to your kid. We're done with fruit and sugar for the day. Like you've had enough. We're having meat the rest of the day.
Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely easier when everyone else that is immediately around you is on board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel for people who don't have that support and they feel ostracized by their family. My dad recently texted me, I don't know, a week or 2 ago. I don't know about time. I'm always like something that's like a week ago. It was like a month or 2 ago. He says that he worries all the time, and he's never like really expressed this except at Christmas time when Christmas was at their house and we convinced them to get what if you don't cut up a ribeye steak? I can never remember. It's a roast, but prime rib. So if you didn't know this, because I didn't know this until December, that when you buy a whole prime rib, that's actually that's the ribeye steak. It's just all cooked whole. I didn't know that. I thought prime rib was its own cut of meat, and then ribeye was its own cut of meat. I was like, woo, revelation, right? So at Christmas, all I had on my plate was this huge chunk of prime rib. And he's like, oh, Kim, I'm really worried about you and Josh, eating like this. You're going to clog your arteries. Red meat so bad for you, right? Like all the things. And then he texted, just like a week or 2 ago saying he worries all the time the way my husband and I eat and how we're, having our kids eat, that we're going to set ourselves up for a lot of problems down the line, basically, is like where he was going. And I know he meant it like in a caring parental way, but he went through like a huge health revolution himself where he was insanely morbidly obese. He was literally like, he could have like dropped dead, like at any point. Like he was miserable, depressed, like so many problems, but he waits until like he's going to die before he'll ever make a change, which I think a lot of people do that. So then he swings from one extreme all the way to the other extreme. And he eats meat and, he eats vegetables and things like that. He eats a standard American diet. It's just, he slowly, took out like the Twinkies and like the ultra processed stuff. But he's a big juicer. Like he swears by cucumber juice. He and celery juice, like he juices both of those together. It smells disgusting. Drinks this huge glass every day. He has a whole book on like the health benefits of celery and cucumber. And I'm not saying that doesn't work for people, because that has helped him so much. And I'm very, very glad that's a whole food, right? Like if you're just going to step into the right direction, like you said, keto, like whole ingredients, nothing processed and things like that. And so he lives in that mindset. He also struggles to digest beef. So the fact that we eat so much beef is like appalling and shocking to him. And so, he's more of like, you gotta eat chicken, low fat, low cholesterol kind of thing. But again, it just kind of is what I just said, don't worry about me. Like, thank you. It's coming from a place of sweetness, but like, don't worry about me. Like, I have a lot of great evidence and doctors that are behind this. It isn't just like some willy-nilly thing. So I'm glad that you have good support at home.
Would he watch any of Dr. Barry's YouTubes on like the concerns he has?
I think he would if I sent it to him. But I don't know. I think he would. Like if I asked him to watch it, I think he would. But I think
he would do that for you. Yeah.
He would do that for me, right? But I don't know if he would just be like, oh, okay, like this one situation, like this one guy is just saying this, and I mean, I have Sean Baker's book. I could give that to him and so on and so forth. But I think because he struggles specifically with beef, to digest beef so much, that he'd just be like, I don't want to eat all this extra meat or whatever. And he is addicted to sugar. Like he truly is addicted to sugar. My dad doesn't drink a huge 12 to 16 ounce glass of chocolate milk with Nesquik powder in it every single day. Like I think the man could die. It's like my entire life, my dad has drank super chocolatey Nesquik milk every day that I've ever known him. And so, again, like, I'm glad he's so much healthier. Like he's like 50 pounds down from where he is. Like he reversed all sorts of issues he had by juicing and just getting rid of ultra processed stuff. And I just think it's a move in the right direction. We're just hoping because my husband's had the big transformation. I feel internally, I feel like I'm 20 years old again. My skin, I mean, I've had some amazing benefits. And I've also seen amazing benefits in my own kids. So I'm hoping our family, our testimony, just we're living great, is going to slowly start changing some of our family member and friends' minds, but it's definitely countercultural. And so it's slow go.
Yeah, I feel like, the best approach to hopefully convincing other people to do this is to not try and convince them to do it. Answer questions if they ask. But I think, just showing up and they'll see like how you guys are thriving. I feel like that's the best way to get someone to consider this, that they won't necessarily hear you out, but they'll see what's going on and then be receptive, especially when it comes to weight loss, because not everyone, you can't see what's going on internally with somebody, but the weight loss is obvious. And I feel like that would usually pique the interest enough to then, maybe dabble in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to know, because you are an amazing cook, what are some of your family, and I'm super excited for your cookbook, by the way. I will purchase your cookbook, especially because I showed my oldest that I think it was on your stories. You were doing a recipe to try to figure out noodles, like egg noodles. And she's like, oh my gosh, Mom, if I could have spaghetti again, I would love that. And because I can my own tomato sauce. We grow our own tomatoes in the garden. So that's the only vegetables like that we eat, right? It's literally me just boiling down the tomatoes into sauce, like, and salt.
And it's a fruit, right? Isn't tomato
right?
a fruit?
It's technically a fruit because it has seeds. That's right. And so we do eat tomato sauce. It's maybe once a month or less is we do or whatever, but we don't buy it. But she's like, if I could have spaghetti again, Mom, with egg noodles. And I was like, look she's trying to do a recipe right here. And it looks like it's coming out good. I was like, so I'm going to buy that. But I need to know, what are your family's favorite go-tos? Or if you're going to go to a party and you're going to bring a dish like to share or for your family, whatever, what does your family like to rave about that you make?
Yeah, well, I think I pretty much nailed the noodles. So they have liked them every step of the way. I did probably like 7 different test runs and they liked them all the ways. So I was more just working on the texture. So I am so excited to share those. I should be able to share those before the cookbook comes out. I have to meet with my team. I actually meet with them today to see like how much and when I can share things. But that will be one of the first things because I'm like, people need this. So I'm excited.
Spaghetti used to be my favorite, not to interrupt you, spaghetti used to be my favorite food. My daughter asked me the other day, Mom, what's your favorite food? I said, I don't know what my favorite food is anymore because I can't say it's spaghetti and honestly, I think it was just, I grew up eating Prego canned sauce, traditional Prego, has tons of sugar in it and whatever else. So that's when I think of spaghetti, that's the taste that I think of. And so it wasn't the noodles, though I was a carbaholic, super addicted to bread before going carnivore. But if I had like a bowl of ground beef with cheese and Prego sauce on it, like that would be so satisfying to me. So I like the sauce, or not the sauce, the noodles. Like if I could have a bowl of spaghetti with your noodles and just go keto for the day, I'm excited.
Yeah, that could be life-changing. And so I don't have tomatoes, but I do like an Alfredo sauce for it. And it was so good. So that's our new favorite. You know what? It's funny because it's like, we don't do a lot of my recipes. Like we have them when I'm making them to try out, but we focus just on just meat and simple cuts of meat. But when I am doing a more involved thing, like we love the tuna melt patties that I have. What else? I have a pork rind batter that I use for like everything now. So we do waffles with that. But yeah, it's mainly just like a lot of meats. We have a smoker, so I love smoking meats. Trying to think if there's anything else. Sauces, I think it's fun to like play around with sauces and dips. Like yesterday I made a goat cheese dip and they had that with carnivore snacks. So they use the chicken sliders as chips. And yeah, I don't know. They like everything and they just have it as I make it. But I don't go out. It's weird. I don't go out of my way to make these recipes for them that often because we're just good with the meat.
Because it takes simplicity out of the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like we're back in the kitchen again for an hour and a half or whatever, because it's like sides with your, it's going to take me more time to prepare this meal. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I think they're fun. And that's why it's like, okay, well, I don't want to knock my cookbook before I make it, but I definitely wouldn't think like it would be practical or needed to make these recipes every day. Like I'm not going to be making carnivore lasagna and noodles and waffles and this, that, and the other every day for them. I think, a few times a week, having something a little bit more creative is fun. But all the other times it's just, okay, what animal are we cooking today? And just keep it simple.
I agree with that. No. And also, when you're pulling out a cookbook like that, I have the Carnivore for Beginners cookbook. And occasionally I'll thumb through there. Like my daughter, Mia, she just turned 7. And I said, this was our first carnivore birthday party, for the exception of her cake and her ice cream, right? That we ended up having. I was like, for your birthday, I'm not gonna we're not going to sacrifice. Like you can, if you want a cake, we'll have a cake. I make a really great keto cheesecake. I was like, should we have keto cheesecake? She's like, no, mom, I really want to have like my unicorn cake or whatever she had. I was like, that's fine, you know, for this one thing. But you do like, I was like, we're going to have a carnivore birthday party. So everything we served was cheese, meat. There was no grain there for the exception of, you know, the cake. And, you know, we had burgers. We did buy buns for our family who wanted buns, but my kids didn't have buns, and things like that. And I don't know, I was expecting some judgment, but everyone was really sweet and nice. And they were kind of like, oh, look at the spread, meat and cheese. And I asked on a Facebook group, like, what would you do? Have you ever used the Egg Life wraps?
I haven't.
I get them from Aldi's because they're a little cheaper, but they sell them at Walmart and, you know, other grocery stores, and they come in all sorts of flavors. I don't do all the flavors. I just do the original. It's just egg whites. And they do put, starts with a Z, some type of gum in there.
Is it xanthan gum?
It's xanthan gum. So so I did those and I put like some Primal Kitchen mayonnaise on that and some meat and cheese, and I rolled them up and I made my own pinwheels. And, you know, we did like some bread cheese and things like that. Everyone thought it was awesome. And also I spent less money in food for the party because protein fills you up. Mm-hmm. And so everyone's like, I was thinking as I was looking at everything, this isn't a lot of food. We have a lot of people coming. And I didn't have an excessive amount of leftovers. Everyone was stuffed. And then, you know, from what I've learned, you want to eat all your protein on the front. And then if you're going to have carbohydrates on the back end, it won't spike your glycemic index, you know, as bad as long as you're eating that protein up front. Yeah. So I'm just looking forward to having more of my kids' birthday parties be carnivore, because I feel like I'm doing my family a service.
Yeah, seriously. And it's funny that you said people were like, oh, look at the spread. It's like, well, if you had, you know, a gluten allergy, people wouldn't be like, oh, you know, how sad they can't have their bread. So it's kind of a bummer that we get judged for this when, I mean, technically, I feel like we could all say we have allergies to gluten and seed oils and sugars because I don't feel good when I eat it, you know? So hopefully, you know, eating this way becomes a little bit more accepted, maybe even mainstream. Like keto, I feel like is more well-known now than it was 5 years ago. But yeah, I feel like any of our old favorites can be carnivorized. You know, there's some great carnivore recipes for like pizza and, you know, casseroles and even just, you know, party food. You think of like, you know, charcuterie, like who doesn't love a salami and cheese platter or some chicken wings? Like, and I actually had a potluck last week. I took a whole platter of bacon, first thing gone. Like, sorry, the vegan salad did not go over well, but the bacon was a big hit. So everyone loves meat. I mean, unless you are not a meat eater, everyone loves meat and they're going to be happy with any sort of meat and cheese, I feel like.
Absolutely. And meatballs, like everyone likes a good meatball, and there's so many different ways to make that. That's funny that you said, like, you know, people with allergies. Excuse me. My husband mentioned he went to Canada recently during all like those I don't know, is it still burning? I have no idea if Canada is still burning, but a few weeks ago when it was like really, really bad, and he was hunting up in Canada, and you know, he had to go out to a few restaurants and he was ordering like 2 steaks and just saying like no sides. And then the people are like, why don't you eat vegetables? Like, and he's like, I think I'm just going to tell people I'm allergic to plants. I'm just allergic to plants. I'm just tired of constantly having to explain myself and just say, you know, they said, I just don't eat that. And they just can't. I know people are curious, like they don't mean to be invasive or, you know, whatever. They're just curious why. But he's kind of sick and tired of explaining at this point.
I
just say I'm allergic And I was like,
No,
well, kind of not.
no, your body
We
doesn't
feel
tolerate
like
it.
garbage when we eat it. Now that it's out of our system and we truly understand, I thought it always, I thought it was just a normal response whenever I ate pizza to feel sluggish and gross. Now I know that was actually my body giving me a sign that I shouldn't be eating that.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's funny when we go out too. Sometimes they just don't understand how you're ordering. And sometimes the fries will still come out. Like they're, wait, what? You don't want that? Like they can't wrap their mind around it. And sometimes your order doesn't come out right because they're like, they feel like, no, you need this. Like there's no possible way you don't want like the produce on the side of your burger or whatnot. Or even when I do go get my kids ice cream, I'm like, please, like the smallest size. If they're getting it on a cone, I will say like the size of a golf ball. Or yesterday, whenever we went, we got frozen yogurt, a mini cup. I'm like, please do not have the ice cream come over the top of the cup. It came over the top. And so I'm like, okay, can you do half the amount for my other kids? They're like, oh yeah, sorry, that was more than you want. It's like they almost like can't help themselves. Like they just
Mm-hmm.
want to give you all the stuff. And it's like, I don't want it.
I know, American bigger is better, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I'll order a kid's cup of ice cream at one of our favorite ice cream shops. And it's 2 scoops when it says on the sign, 1 scoop. And they always give 2. And I was like, and then they hand it to your kid. And then you say to yourself, you want to take it away and just be like, scrape the lid, scrape the top. But they already have it. They already took a bite. And then like, come on, man, can you like follow your own sign? Like,
yeah, I think people like show love and show they care with food too.
Yes.
Like, no, I want you to have this, or just it's people's love language, I feel like too, because they're addicted.
And yes, and it's very much part of our culture I'm all for gathering together with your loved ones, like over a meal, and things like that. But, sometimes too much is just too much. I don't know. But I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite part of the carnivore lifestyle? Because there's so much. There's the community, the simplicity of it. Obviously, you're healing, weight loss. So since coming into this community 13, 14 months ago, and really diving in, what has been your favorite part of the lifestyle?
Oh, it would have to be 2. I mean, it would just have to be like how I feel, the weight loss, all the other health benefits I've had, and then the community for sure. I mean, people like to say we're like a cult, but I think a cult would be
We're
like
passionate, man.
yeah, a cult's a negative thing. Like I think of like, okay, vegans would be a cult because if someone tries to leave veganism, they are put down for that they did it wrong or they weren't doing this. Like they're not accepted as they leave. I feel like a lot of people in the carnivore community come to this to heal. And some eventually, well, some like to stick with it, but some want to see if they can add things back in. And I think we as a group are supportive of that. We might not like agree with it, but it's like, sure, if you want to start adding foods in and see how you feel, great. So I think it's a very warm community. I love it because I feel like it trickles out into all aspects of life. Like we're very like-minded on other things other than food because I feel like we found this way of eating. It goes against everything we've been told. So I think, to speak generally about everybody in this community, we question things we're told. We don't trust the government. We think, big pharma is out to get it like there. And then like politically, I feel like a lot of us are aligned politically too. And I think it's a big deal because that's a lot of things, to be like-minded about. So it just feels, I don't know. It's just nice.
It is nice. I found that to be the same thing. So, as you start going down the rabbit trails and you're watching all these videos, doctors and not doctors, and, reading books and things like that, I totally agree with you that you find that everyone seems to be pretty like-minded. Yeah. Like you said, I think it's I always look at people's like about section on their YouTube pages, or looking like their little bio section on their Instagram pages, just because like maybe I can learn something new about somebody. But I love how you say like eat meat, question everything. And that's what the last 3 years have taught me. I just like lived in this bubble that, you know, the things that are bombarding you, whether it's on social media or television or the way you were raised and in your schooling and things like that was truth, right? I just, you know, and I never really questioned any of that. And then, you know, the last 3 years taught me like, holy macaronis, I need to literally question everything. I need to do my own research. And, yeah, like the big pharma thing. And I do agree with you. I think the majority, right, if you had to like broad brush it, of us do see things politically and things like that very similarly. But yeah, the community, we all seem to be on the same page with that. And that makes things so much easier when you're reaching out to people for advice or, you know, research. Like, you don't feel threatened. I don't feel threatened by the carnivore community. And you're right. When people decide they have an amazing transformation, they feel great and they want to add things back in, polite, respectable, civilized human beings are not going to be, you know, we all get comments on our YouTube videos, right? Where there's those extreme people out there that are just like, how dare you eat strawberries at your child's birthday and you're gonna die. Like, I seriously got comments like that the other day on a video of mine, where I was talking about, it was Easter and I had a bowl of fruit, dude. I had a bowl of fruit. It was Easter and my face freaked out. Like, my skin, like I got like all this rosacea that like flared up all over. It was like itchy and flaky and yucky for, no joke, 4 to 6 weeks. Like, it took a long time for it. And I've always had issues with my skin and I could never figure out what the problem was. Now my skin's great. It's a little greasy right now, but, you know, it's clear, it glows all the time. And, it's just healing and it looks great. And some people were so supportive and sweet. Like, now you know that, you know, your body is rejecting and you know what caused your issues before you went carnivore and this, that, and the other, right? They were so supportive and kind and gave some great tips and like all these things. And then there was the people that were like, why would you ever even consider even thinking about eating fruit or adding those things back into your diet? It's poison. And
it's a good learning experience because now you know how your body reacts to it. So yeah, some people can, you know, be a little intense and be the carnivore police, the carnivore police, but I feel like the majority is they're pretty welcoming and understanding of people that want to try things out, I think.
Yeah. And I was like, again, can we just lift each other up? Just be like, oh, I'm sorry you tried something and it kind of sucked.
Yeah.
you can always go back. You're not kicked out of the group, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. So the last question I have on my list, unless we go off on more rabbit trails, which I love because I could talk all day, is if you could offer any type of advice to anyone who is on the fence of going more keto or going carnivore, or is maybe struggling or whatever, what kind of advice would you give them and for their family?
I would just give it a shot. Give it a shot for minimum 30 days. At least 3 months though would be ideal. I feel like magic really happens, you know, after 3 months. And no need to go cold turkey. Like, you can ease yourself into it. Start making some small changes, remove seed oils, remove snacks that have sugar, you know, go make it like a process. Like, you can go like a little bit more like whole foods based, then keto, then carnivore, and just give it a shot and see how you feel. I don't want to say nothing bad will happen in 3 months, but the chances of, you know, something bad happening to whatever concerns people may have, like the heart stuff, the arteries, all that, like nothing is going to happen in those 3 months. It shouldn't. I can't make medical claims, but I wouldn't worry about those. And I would just see how you feel after. I mean, I've only heard wonderful stories of people healing their autoimmune issues and going off blood pressure meds, getting off statins. Like, you name it. I feel like carnivore is like the golden ticket. Like I have so many friends and family that like have these issues, and I want to just be like, oh my God, just give carnivore a shot. Like you can add things back in if you don't like it, or use it as an elimination diet and add things back in and see how you do. But I would love for anyone to just give it a shot. I think a lot of people get used to little aches and pains and little quirks. You know, you get up in the morning and you get out of bed, maybe your knees hurt. I feel like people just kind of think that's normal, or they don't pay attention to it. Heard a lot of people say like, wow, I didn't realize how bad I felt till right now I feel so good. So minimum 30 days, 90 days would be awesome. And you could always go back to the crap you're eating now.
I love that. That's so true. Also, I found watching Dr. Barry's Monday night lives. Oh, I always rock them on replay because, you know, I'm like sleeping practically when those go live. But it's the everyday people asking for advice, you know, free medical advice right on YouTube every Monday night with Dr. Barry of people trying carnivore, and they all have such amazing success. And yeah, just like, why not 30 to 90 days? I think that's excellent. So Courtney, thank you so much for coming on the channel. And you know, it just popped in my head. You, at the very beginning of this, we were talking about trying to find shelf stable like snacks for your kids and you're out and about, and you mentioned a rice stick. Dehydrated cheese. You can go on Amazon. I was at a farmer's market last week and I found a bag of like little cheese balls, and they were just dehydrated cheese in like a zippy bag that can be, and I went on Amazon, you can buy like they look like granola bars, but just cheddar cheese that's dehydrated and it's crunchy, and you can get like cheese snacks. So that would be something to consider for your kids to throw in your purse.
Yeah. Is that different than like the wisps? Like we get the cheese cracker, like wisp. Is that?
I've never heard.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's a brand, wisps, but there's other like brands. Yeah. Where it's like essentially like crackers made out of cheese are really good. We get the pepperoni ones from Costco. They love.
Nice. Okay. The kids too, because, you know, when you're out and about as a busy parent, you do, you know, I'm always throwing beef jerky sticks like in my purse or whatever, but they're just like loving these little dehydrated balls of cheese. And so
I'll have to try this because yeah, these are balls. They're like sliced, like crunchy ones. So that's a good idea. Yeah. And like we love chopsticks and pork rinds that we usually have in our bag when we're out and about.
Oh, love pork rinds. But anywho, thank you so much. Sorry, as we finish this up with like, here's some snacks
right
in the car. Thank you again for being here. I'm going to put all of your social media, your Instagram and your YouTube channel and everything down in the description below. So when people want to check you out, I wish you nothing but blessings and success on your cookbook and of course your health journey. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun talking with you.